Hi guys, welcome back. Thanks for joining me for another royal news video. So just a quick reminder, if you decide that you like listening to my stories to do with the royal family, then please remember to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell, and YouTube should tell you when I have posted a video. But this video I want to start off with a royal who is known as the royal family's secret weapon. She was loved by Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip. She does incredible work advocating for women and girls around the world who genuinely do not have a voice, and who has also spent many years drawing attention to global charities and organisations that work towards the prevention of blindness after being inspired by her own daughter's struggles. Ladies and gentlemen, it is of course Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh. Our lovely Super Sophie on the 19th of March was at Edinburgh Castle attending the announcement of the Tour de France 2027 Grand Depart. For those of you that are interested, it will start on the 2nd of July and the men's Tour de France will depart from the stunning city of Edinburgh and will follow a route through England and into Wales. It's only the third time that the UK has held the race in the last 20 years, with the last time being Yorkshire in 2014 and then London in 2007. I wouldn't really want to start Tour de France in London anymore because most of the cyclists will probably have their bikes stolen. But as for cycling, Sophie has been a patron of the British cycling since 2011, and she was the perfect fit for that role as she is a seasoned cyclist herself. In 2016, she took part in a 450-mile cycling challenge from Edinburgh to Buckingham Palace, being waved off by her proud husband and her father-in-law Prince Philip. Sophie is a superstar in her own right. She represents the crown and the monarchy in such a positive way. She never tries to put the spotlight on herself, and in the 25 years she has been part of that family, she has become a truly treasured member, not just by the royals but with the public as well. Sophie came from a middle-class family and she even went to the same college as me. She obviously wasn't there when I was there, but it just shows how normal she is. This is why she is so completely down to earth. And it also pulls the rug out from Harry and Meghan's narrative where they said that the royal family were very snobby towards Meghan. Meghan implied that she wasn't treated nicely because they were turning their nose up at her. And it's not just Sophie. Mike Tyndall is another one, obviously didn't come from exactly the high society background that you would expect marrying into the royals. It would seem that the only person that turned her nose up and was snobby to people was Meghan herself. When Sophie married the Queen and Philip's youngest son, it was a low-key wedding in comparison to other royal weddings, especially Charles and Diana's, but obviously that was always going to be big given the fact that he was the future king, but also Andrew and Fergie's. They kept their relationship low profile when they were dating, and they continued to do that long after. They spent their honeymoon at Balmoral Castle just the same as the Queen and Prince Philip did, and the tiara that she wore on her wedding day was a gift from Her Majesty. It reportedly came from her private collection and was altered by the crown jeweller, showing how much Sophie must have really been liked by our late Queen. So then in 2005, the Wessex tiara was created. This is the beautiful tiara that we have seen at many state events with Sophie, with the massive aquamarine stone in the centre of it. Even Sophie and Prince Edward's children have been brought up as normal as possible despite being the two youngest grandchildren of Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip. Sophie said once in an interview, "I guess not everyone's grandparents live in a castle, but where you are going is not the important part, or who they are. When they are with the Queen, they are with their grandmother." The children also do not have HRH titles. Sophie and Edward said they did not want them having them. They went to local schools and they did lots of normal things like going to sleepovers with friends. They were brought up with as normal family life as possible, hence why the children always looked so shy when they did the Christmas Day walks or the big events. They are so nonplussed over all of the paparazzi frenzy and sometimes screaming people because they just do not court it. Lady Louise got a job working in a garden centre for the summer before starting university. Nobody knew. There was no invasion of her space, people with camera phones leak into the media, thus proving that you do not need to serve your children up on a silver platter if you are part of the royal family. Which obviously, by the way, now makes her look like a total hypocrite, the fact that she served Archie up for Oprah, some more obviously with Netflix, and now we are seeing the children showing up continuously, well, bits of their body parts anyway, on Meghan's Instagram feed, all to try and get traffic to her new ventures. It seems that Meghan's happy to use the children when it suits. Sophie was so loved by the Queen, she often accompanied her to various events and she was by her side throughout the loss of Prince Philip. So I think we can all understand why Sophie was so disgusted and furious at Meghan smirking and attention seeking at the various events that followed on from the Queen's passing. She saw firsthand how much that Harry and Meghan had hurt her, as if losing her husband of 70 years, her rock wasn't enough. And of course, as we know, Harry and Meghan did not stop after Oprah. They just continued right up until a few weeks before the Queen actually passed away herself. Sophie is everything a duchess is meant to be. She supports her husband, she represents her family and the crown with class, with propriety. She represents the monarch at events and on the global stage. She looks like a princess at state occasions and she interacts with absolutely everybody the same, whether it be a president, a foreign king, a farmer or a soldier. Sophie is the same with everybody and this is why everybody likes her. She uses her platform to draw attention to incredible causes, charities and organisations all around the world that she clearly cares about. And above all else, she is completely loyal to her entire family. Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, is a huge asset and very deserving of the title that she represents, which is a total polar opposite for the one that uses her title to elevate herself and open doors for her own selfish climb to fame and fortune. Meghan didn't get anywhere in her career of trying to be a Hollywood starlet. The most success that she had came to her in her early 30s, and that was when she starred in 108 episodes of Suits. There was nobody lining up to do documentaries about her life. There were no publishers wanting her to release children's books. Netflix and Spotify certainly were not knocking at her door for any sort of content that she might be able to put out there, despite having a successful blog, The Tig. The only other small acting parts that she managed to get were being a barmaid and a FedEx girl and Hot Girl on the Plane. They were actual Hollywood films, but Meghan was in a complete blink and you miss it bit part. You know the expression, always a bridesmaid, never a bride? Well, Meghan was more with her acting career, more the drink server, never the bride. Now, one of her friends who follows them on lots of events around the world and is one of the people that comes to her defense whenever Meghan's getting a battering in the news is photographer Missan Harriman. He has come out to defend Meghan in his usual style and he has blamed the recent backlash on misogyny, on misogynoir. I honestly had to look that one up. It means discrimination because she is a black woman. And also greed. He said that the people that have made money out of basically hating on Meghan will be on the wrong side of history. They will be remembered for it, and can they live with themselves when they kiss their children goodnight? If anybody is going to be remembered in history, it's going to be Meghan, for two main reasons. The first one is the fact that she managed to break up these two brothers, a bond that was forged so deep from being brothers, growing up in the royal family together, facing everything together, including the untimely death of their mother, Princess Diana. And then I think we all know the second thing that Meghan is going to be remembered for most famously. Yes, nobody is ever going to forget this, and I don't think anybody should ever let her forget it either. Both Harry and Meghan were utterly vile throughout that Netflix show and what they tried to do to this woman, the woman that gave them everything. They wouldn't have anything that they have now if it were not for Harry's family, who Harry and Meghan have tried to destroy. They have created hate with their lies. They weaponized racism and got people to target the royal family. Catherine is still called KK Kate by some people, normally Meghan's fan base. Harry and Meghan have a fan base that is so vile. They issue death threats all of the time. They try and get people's jobs to sack them. They stalk people's family members, people's children. They are honestly the most disgusting bunch of people. It's not all of them, but there is a large number of them that pride themselves on tearing down anybody that says anything negative about Meghan. So what does Meghan do? She thanks them. She gets them tickets to come to events so they can spend time with her and Harry. You know, she gives them a phone call. Meghan has learnt to weaponize race. Meghan is the one that created a massive storm of hate towards her in-laws over what has been proved mostly lies.
They didn't want him to be a prince or a princess, not knowing what the gender would be, which would be different from protocol, and that he wasn't going to receive security.
Meghan went into such overdrive with trying to paint herself out a victim. She made it out like the royal family locked her up in the dungeon, threw away the key. She wasn't allowed to leave, and it was only because Harry managed to whisk them away that they escaped with their lives. And she created such an awful storm for that family with the help of Harry. He does not get a free pass. Now, Ted Sarandos, CEO of Netflix, is also currently trying to save face because of the backlash to do with Meghan, well, with Love Meghan. He's given an interview to Variety magazine and said that Meghan is underestimated in terms of her influence, and he refers to Harry and Meghan's Netflix series, which proves that, as it was spoken about and dissected for days. People didn't watch Netflix because Harry and Meghan were popular. People watched Netflix because they were rubbernecking. Everybody saw the huge fallout that Oprah did, but they also saw the amount of lies that Harry and Meghan did on Oprah. So people were ready to see what else that they were going to come out with. Bearing in mind, Queen Elizabeth had only died a couple of months before. People knew that this was going to be a car crash. That's why people tuned into it, and that's why so many people dissected it weeks, if not months later, because everything that they said in that was, well, basically people were trying to uncover going, well, that's not true, and that didn't tie up to what they said on Oprah. It's a morbid curiosity and a fascination. It's certainly not because people like Harry and Meghan and they can't wait to get more of them. Now, I do sometimes wonder if Harry and Meghan had left the royal family and then just gone on to their ventures in America, I think that it would have gone a lot better than what it has done. If they never did Oprah, if they never did all of the subsequent interviews that they did, if they never swiped at the royal family, they just packed their stuff up and left and decided to start a new career over in America. Yes, they still would have got backlash for the fact that they are still clearly using their titles for commercial ventures. It was something that the Queen told them not to do. It was something that Meghan always intended to do, and she will continue to do so. Harry and Meghan still had an awful lot of goodwill from people, many sympathetic to them, after they left the royal family, because they said initially that they were leaving because of the constraints or the gilded cage of what it means to be a member of the royal family. And people were like, yeah, I could get that, I could understand that. They said they wanted more of a private life. They wanted their children to grow up with as much normal upbringing as possible. So of course, if you believe that, of course people were going, yes, I understand that completely. But again, that all turned out to be lies. So think about it. Would Harry and Meghan, if they hadn't done all the attacks on the monarchy, would they have still got backlash when they trod over the graves of American soldiers with a fashion photographer after closing down the cemetery? And also Meghan's PR stunt at Uvalde with several photographers and an entourage. And let's not forget more recently the disaster tourism with Harry and Meghan climbing over the ashes of people's properties where they were not allowed to get into those zones themselves. Would Harry and Meghan still have had backlash from the public? Yes, they would have. Would Harry and Meghan have received backlash turning up to New York with Secret Service looking after them and a huge police detail, despite having previously stated that they wanted to have a normal life? They wanted to be civilians. They wanted to carve their own independent path out, but they were also demanded to be treated the same as working royals. Do you think Meghan still would have received backlash writing a children's book about the importance of fatherhood, a father being in a child's life, after she so publicly and cruelly ghosted her father and still continues to ignore him despite him begging and pleading and having a stroke? Do you think that would have earned Meghan a bit of backlash if she hadn't trashed the Queen and the royal family? Yes, it would. You can't be preaching about kindness and the importance of family if you treat your family absolutely deplorably. Well, she doesn't treat them like anything. She just treats them like they don't exist. And that, in turn, is incredibly cruel. Do you think Harry and Meghan still would have got a lot of public backlash when they demanded that they should continue to have taxpayer-funded police security, despite wanting to be living a normal as possible life in America? Yes, I think people still would have been just as angry even if they hadn't have done Oprah and Netflix. You don't leave the job, quit, stick your fingers up and then say, I want to keep all of the perks, the company car, I want my pension, I want my salary, do you? It just doesn't work in the real world. Would Harry and Meghan still have earned backlash over their use of using private jets like Uber whilst preaching to the masses that we should make sure we only stay in eco-friendly. We shouldn't go on holiday a few times a year. The world is burning, I remember Harry saying when he gave that speech, which was meant to be in honour of Nelson Mandela, and instead turned it into a preachy speech, whilst jumping from one SUV to the next with a massive fleet, massive motorcade, sometimes a 7-car motorcade with him from private jet to private jet. Do you think people would still call Harry and Meghan hypocrites? Yes, they would. What about Meghan bullying the staff? This is transatlantic now. She can't just say it's what happened in the royal family. She has continued to bully staff, Spotify staff, Archwell staff. I mean, they have got a revolving door, and these are top execs that have worked for politicians. One of them worked on a campaign, I believe, for the presidential campaigns. You have got people that have worked with other celebrities, genuine celebrities, and they quit on Meghan and, of course, Harry, who they seem to, in the interviews, let him off a bit. But the fact that he does nothing, what is it Meghan said, if you're complacent, you're complicit. Well, that's Harry, really, isn't it? He allows his wife to treat people so badly. There are too many people that have come forward and said that she is an absolute monster. More recently, a florist in Montecito said that they got screamed at down the phone by her and they will never do anything for her again. This is a continuous pattern of behaviour from Meghan. So again, would Meghan have earned backlash for that if she hadn't have done Oprah? Yes, you can't go around terrorising your staff or even other companies' staff. So my point is here, all of the hate that they get is because of their own behaviour. They left the royal family 5 years ago. I'm sick of people saying, oh, it's still a smear campaign. The royals don't speak to them. They want nothing to do with them. This is all on Harry and Meghan and the things that they do. That's why she gets backlash. It's their decisions, it's their behaviours, and it's got nothing to do with racism, misogyny, or jealousy. My favourite one. You're just jealous because she married Harry. Trust me, sweetheart, she can keep him. Even Gwyneth Paltrow, in that scathing Vanity Fair interview, she spoke about when she dated Brad Pitt, it was like dating Prince William. She didn't say, oh yeah, it would have been like the equivalent of dating Prince Harry, because nobody spoke about Harry like that. Nobody was fighting over Harry like they were fighting over Prince William for a variety of reasons. So again, my point is, even without doing all of those awful things that they did to Harry's family, Harry and Meghan would still end up being disliked by people because it's who they are and who they continue to be. With Love, Meghan would still be pulled apart for being fake, inauthentic, cheesy, hammy, and just really painful to watch. It's a snore fest. It was completely boring. But to say people criticising that show for those reasons, that's hate, that's racism, that's misogyny. No, it's not. It's simply because the show sucked. And I do speak from experience on this because I watched all 8 painful episodes. I can confirm it was dull and it was boring. Even her products for As Ever also look boring. It's all been done before. The same as her tips and tricks on how to be a hostess. I'm honestly surprised that they didn't have a segment in it with Meghan opening the front door, fetching her husband's slippers and serving him a martini as he arrived home. Perhaps that's in part 2. The same as her posts on Instagram. They are also boring because Meghan is boring. It's like scanning through someone's old Pinterest list from 2010. She has no original ideas, and most of the ideas she uses, she's plagiarised off someone else. She knows that she is nothing without the connection to royalty. That's why she keeps reminding everybody. So up pops the waffle iron story. Why did she bring this up? I told you in the other video, it's because of the references that she'd get to the Queen giving Archie a waffle maker for his second birthday, which obviously that's not what grandparents generally get a 2-year-old. Meghan is doing things to poke royal fans because she can play victim. Oh, they just won't leave me alone. But it also gets her that added extra attention. Take the recent letter, which is like something out of a horror film, that she wrote to celebrity podcaster Amanda Hirsch. What earned her the backlash is the fact that she's using her royal monogram with a crown still. Surely, after everything Meghan endured, that would invoke some sort of PTSD because she barely survived it. You know, her soul was being crushed. It's a miracle she got out of there alive. But of course it did what it was meant to do, what her boring Instagram feed fails to do. It gets her headlines. It's exactly the same as the recent story where Meghan showed off her monogram signet ring, which debuted at the Invictus Games. The same as the Archewell staff having to wear a royal monogrammed pin, like her doormat. Meghan knows she's only got the worldwide attention and fame that she craved her entire life because of the royal family and because of this woman. Meghan only ever saw becoming a royal as an advancement to be used to make herself more famous and of course to create more money. Meghan and Sophie are both duchesses because of their marriages to their husbands. They both married princes with dukedoms in the United Kingdom, but that is where the similarities end. Only one of them deserves to be treated as such, and it's most certainly not the one who uses royal monogram stationery despite quitting being a working royal over 5 years ago, who writes creepy notes to celebrity podcasters for publicity. And if you don't believe me that the note sounds scary, I'm going to read it to you how I read it in my head. Dear Amanda, I heard you were feeling scared. Don't be. This is the fun part. Let's enjoy it. As ever, Meghan. It does, doesn't it? I know I'm reading it like it, but that's how I read it in my head. It creeped me out so much I was actually thinking perhaps I need to watch a Disney film before I go to bed. But I tell you one Disney film that I will not be watching or ever be watching, and that is the Snow White film. Because I've actually found an actress that I want to see even less of than Meghan. So guys, that's it for me on this video. I will be back with you very soon where we can talk about his royal hotness. So join me back here soon. Take care for now. Bye.